Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to the ECM podcast. I'm Caroline Fontanieu, and I'm very happy to host this series that will take you behind the scenes of new music on ECM records. In this new episode, I'm meeting with Elina Duni and Rob Luft to celebrate their duo album, Reaching for the Moon, produced by Manfred Eicher. We talked about languages, dreams, astronomy, and so much more.
So near and yet.
Last time we spoke, Elina, it was in 2023 for your quartet album, A Time to Remember. You had spent time in the Sinai Desert, and you're coming back with a duo album with Rob Luft on the guitar once again. I was going to ask how was transitioning from 4 to 2, but we were just saying in our previous conversation, Elina, that your duo was kind of a band within a band. Mm-hmm. So maybe transitioning from 4 to 2 is not really the question, but would it be more something considered like retour à l'essentiel, return to basis?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Well, the duo has always been the core of the quartet project, and we've always been touring a lot in duo. Especially it started during COVID because, as Rob says, we were a very cheap band, and also we were ready to go anywhere to do whatever test it takes and anything to play. So, and we played in very different and sometimes difficult situations. So I think this also made the music and the duo become much stronger. So it has really evolved, let's say, in the last 6 years. For us, it was a kind of the right moment now to have something to witness the strength of his duo and how much we believe in it. And that was the right moment to make a duo album. And maybe you can say the story about Manfred Unterfahrt.
Well, Manfred Eicher came to one of our gigs in Germany, and obviously...
was it 23?
2022, I think. We played in the jazz club nearest to the ECM headquarters, showed up and came to see the music, and he really enjoyed the intimacy that the duo project has, and he came to us in the break and he was really on fire. He was like, we have to record this, we have to make a record just of the two instruments after all of these years of him hearing the quartet lineup. Yeah. And of hearing Elina in her previous quartet. I think he liked the sort of nudity of just the two instruments. And when Manfred is running hot like that, you have to jump on that moment, because that's a guy that's heard so much music in his life. And when he really came so enthusiastically to us in the pause between the two sets with this idea, we didn't let the idea fade away. We kept...
Yeah, and you need to you can trust him. It's something that can be trusted. You started working together when touring Partir, right?
Yeah, we started working together in 2017. It was a very special moment in my life because I didn't have the quartet anymore and I only had my solo project. And of course I was somehow searching for new collaborations, and I met Rob thanks to Montreux Jazz Festival, actually, Artist Foundation, because Rob won the second guitar prize at the Montreux competition. And the prize was 1 week with different jazz mentors, like Trilok Gurtu and Marcus Miller, Kurt Rosenwinkel and all these people in Lausanne. And then they would work together and also have a concert. And for the vocalists, Al Jarreau was supposed to be there. And then he unfortunately died before that. And then they tried to find someone else, and this other person could not do it. And then in an emergency, they called me. And so...
No pressure.
No pressure, right? No pressure. And so I arrived, and this is how I met Rob. And then we kept in touch. And some months later, I was getting offers for gigs, but I didn't want to do all these gigs only with my solo project. Some of them were for another kind of context. And so I told him our first gig was in Macedonia, actually, northern Macedonia. We were in a duo, and so I brought him first in Morocco, and we went there to rehearse. And this was the first time in my life that I discovered how wonderful it is to be with a guitarist, because you can go anywhere. We had a little amp like this, lunchbox.
That's all you need.
Mini amp, that's all you need. And this is how we started. We started with my Albanian repertoire and also with some songs from Partir. That was the beginning, the initial musical journey. And then, of course, it developed to a lot of different things.
Was it already in your head before you had this conversation with Manfredaia to record a duo, or that was just like the working identity behind the scenes or rehearsing or touring was the duo, but for the studio it was obvious that it had to be something a little bit different? How was it for both of you?
Yeah, I think we always were touring together, just often in duo, because it's so practical, and especially that moment during and just after the pandemic, when festival organisers were really doing their best to put concerts back together and put jazz festivals together, but they didn't want to take a risk on a large group. For example, if the drummer gets COVID the day before and he's already flown halfway across the world to do the gig and he's now quarantining in the hotel for 2 weeks, and the festival organizer might be expected to pay that, but the drummer can't do the gig. All these kind of factors and circumstances were coming into play at this moment. And then all of a sudden there was us there, available, ready to play, just 2 instruments, 2 musicians, traveling together, very flexible, with, not too much baggage and stuff like that coming with us. So we were a good orchestra to employ during the COVID era. And then after that, we just kept going. The project just strengthened and strengthened, and we tried to make all the music work that we'd been doing as a quartet or with other lineups prior to Corona. We tried to make all of it, trim it down and slimlined into just the 2 instruments. And Elina also plays some percussion. I also do some like live looping tricks and stuff like that, which makes the music flow in a way that it sounds bigger than just the 2 instruments. So it made sense also to record it, because when people come to a live show, they want to take something home with them, right?
Yeah. They want to take what they've seen as well. And we were always, we don't have any duo album. We just have
not exactly it, but yes.
So it was somehow natural for us that we would, at some point, would like to record a duo album. And we both think that was the right moment to do it.
I want to talk about your process of creation together. But before that, I just want to come back on what you were saying about tour. When we started touring as a duo after Partir, that was also the repertoire of a solo album on which you're playing guitar as well, by the way, Elina. I was wondering if it's hard to let go of a part of a song to share it with someone, no matter how much you're connected, no matter how much you care about each other. Is it hard to let go of a part of a song, to let it become something else? Because obviously when you're more than just yourself, it becomes something different than what you have in mind, right?
Yeah, I think it's very different. I see Partir really as nearly as a show in itself that presents things, and it's very related to the texts I say in between and to this atmosphere I create. And it's really, for me, like a journey within myself. And when we started playing some of these songs with Rob, it was very interesting for me, because Rob is such an extraordinary musician that everything he touches becomes better and more beautiful and even has even more space. And you can imagine that after touring some years with yourself, you also get bored somehow with yourself. You need interaction. So somehow I was happy to play with Rob the songs that I was playing alone, because he changed them, transformed them, and we are still discovering some of them, rediscovering. Also, some months ago, we took another song and it just becomes something else. It becomes a symphony, So it's very interesting. And I also think that songs live. They have their life. You record them and then you play them and then continue to live and to evolve, and like beings. It's very interesting. So yes, that was for me very enriching, I would say. It's really for me very beautiful to play these songs with Rob, because they bring us totally somewhere else.
How did you build this repertoire and how did you pick the songs?
Kind of in reference to what we were chatting about before, we wanted really to have something a set of music on a recording that we could really play in a gig live. And sometimes with the quartet, we were finding ourselves putting together a program which was very much oriented around the studio. So like a lot of those songs on the previous albums were getting prepared and arranged for a studio recording, but were not necessarily imagined to be played in a concert or at a festival or whatever. So we just thought to ourselves, now's the time to put together a program of music as a duo, which we can take onto the stage directly and play it all as you hear it on the record. Of course, we also travel around a lot. We play in the UK, we play in Ireland, we play in France, Italy, in the Balkans, in Albania,
in
Kosovo. We wanted to have a little reference point to each of those kind of stylistic markers on the record. So there are a couple of pieces in Albanian language, and there are a couple of pieces in French language, and hopefully there is like a little bit of something for everybody in there. So for those who speak the language of, let's say, Albanian, there is 2 folk songs there that will touch people who speak that language and who feel that music in a particular way. By extension, the same with French. But me, as someone who doesn't speak Albanian or Farsi, I think you can still feel the emotion of the music and the colour of that music and how it comes together in relation to the other songs on the record. It makes a bit of a journey from language to culture, from style to style. So I think that's a really nice thing, that even if you don't speak the language of that particular song you're listening to, it carries with it a certain stylistic marker, and hopefully we're doing our best to interpret all these different cultures.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, your exploration of language, Elina, is fascinating, and I'm sure you're working on the pronunciation of words with people who speak the actual language that you're singing in, and you're obviously careful of the meaning of the words that you're singing in order to convey an emotion and the message. Do you play differently, Rob, depending on the language that is sung?
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you can imagine, there's huge amounts of baggage. If you go somewhere like Albania, where Elina has a great reputation, and we play probably slightly bigger stages there than we would do in a basement jazz club in London, so we go and play to 1,000 or 1,500 people sometimes, or 2,000 people at a summertime festival in the Balkans, and there is a huge amount of expectation there that the music sounds in a particular way, and to honor that tradition of Balkan folk, or to honor that sound world, there's a lot of work that goes into making an Albanian song or an Iranian song feel stylistically appropriate, and not just like we're having a go at it. It's a deep dive into that sound world and into that style. The same would go if we were to play an Irish folk song, or if we were to play a song from, like Foray, the Les Berceaux that we play on the album, which is a beautiful lullaby. It took some real investigation there of me. That's a piece of classical music, essentially, from Foray, and we were trying to make it sound a little bit more like a piece of modern jazz. And so there's a sort of transition between styles and sound worlds that occurs somewhere between the recording studio and the stage. And yeah, as I say, we're kind of comes together as a bit of a book, like a short novel, with each piece going from song to song and language to language.
It's also an appropriation of the song. So at the same time, you have to respect the tradition from where it comes, but at the same time, you have to add your own little sauce to it, your own little interpretation of it, which I think is the main thing here. And us as a duo, we try to create a reinterpretation of the song, especially when it comes to folk or to jazz, when it's not our songs, a reinterpretation that respects, but also that gives something else, that gives a point of view that we would like to think it's kind of authentic, or it's our point of view. But coming back to the album, also what is very important, there is a thread throughout the album, which is the night. And it comes from 2 years ago, we had a commission from the University of Cultures in Geneva to find different lullabies that would illustrate the different cultures in 6 different languages. So there was Ukrainian, Farsi, Albanian, French, English, and 2 from these lullabies, we took them on the album. And this gave us the idea, actually, that each song would have something related to the night. And each song has something related to the night, to the mystery, but also to something comfortable, like a lullaby is, to something soothing. It's this idea that you're alone in the middle of the night. The night is mysterious, is dark, but at the same time, it can be...
It's safe.
It's safe, yeah. So how do we give this light into the night? And also it reflects, of course, about the reality of today, where we live in a world that is just beyond imagination. What can we do? What can we do in this world? We can only offer with our music some consolation, some soothing, some light, some hope, us as artists. And I think it's very important for us to be aware that this is our only weapon, you know. Zambakui prizrenit, o zambakui barde, o zambakui prizrenit, o zambakui barde.
I was just going to say there's something also political in just shedding some light on some languages, because it's also shedding some light on some cultures. And, you know, having like words in Farsi in your booklet is just extremely, extremely relevant with what's going on in the world right now. And it's important to use that voice to say what you have to say. And I'm sure that it's also political in a way, of course, as you said.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Definitely.
I remember 2 years ago when Rishi Sunak was in power of the UK government, and there was this the Home Secretary at the time, I think, or was it the Foreign Secretary, was Suella Braverman, and she was pouring a lot of fire onto this debate about stop the boats, stop the immigrants, and especially these illegal Albanian immigrants into the UK. And I found it incredibly toxic, this way of speaking about immigrants in British politics at this particular moment. It was around 23, 24, so 2-3 years ago. And I remember we were both very struck by that. And it's not at all our experience of being in the UK, and we've met some of the loveliest people from Kosovo, from Albania, from Macedonia, who are now living in London and who are contributing huge amounts to the British cultural fabric. And it just seemed incredibly kind of disingenuous and incredibly unhelpful at that moment to pour fire on the debate in that way. So, of course, when you play songs in many languages, it becomes political. Even if me, deep down, I'm the least political person in the world, you can't help but see the power of music to bring people together.
Even if you're not involved in the debate, as an artist in 2026, you cannot not be political, because it's an action, it's a political action to just make art.
Yeah, it's a unifying action. When you bring people from the left and the right and the center all together under one ceiling to come to your concert and sit there and listen for an hour to music and to witness and to feel the beauty of music, I think that's a really nice thing, and it brings hopefully unity and healing into the world.
All of your album has been recorded in La Buissonne, including this one. Talk to me about this special place, because it is a very special place.
It is a very special place. First of all, it's the south of France, and who doesn't love the south of France? And you can only live with cheese and baguette and some red wine.
Yes.
The place is a very magical studio, I would say. It has also a lot to do with Gérard de Haro and the way he records and the way he makes you feel safe and makes you totally trust the studio and Gérard. It's very interesting studio moments because you live 3 days. So most of our albums we record it during 2 days, and then the third day we mix. And I always say that it's like supernova moments, because you are there for 3 days, but when it's finished, you have the feeling it was 3 weeks. Because everything is so intense, so deep, that you really need a place where you know that you're going to be able to just let go and be yourself, but also to have a feedback either from Manfred or from Gérard, who would say something to you, when you are in a kind of doubt. So I think it's very, very important to have a studio that you love, where you can go back and when it brings you to this kind of essential moment and you can trust it. It's essential to a good album. And I lived amazing moments there with Manfred Eicher as well. And it was very important for us that it's recorded there as well. Yeah.
I do want to take a second to talk about Les Berceaux, because it really feels like you both wrote this. Do you have a special relationship with Fauré, or?
Yes, I love Fauré, especially his Requiem. And I love this song. I know this song for many, many years. I mean, it's one of the most famous classical songs. And I've been singing it for a long time, but we worked on it together with Rob because of this Lullabies project. And it's not actually a lullaby, but I took it into the Lullaby project because I love the song, and because we found a way, and Rob found a way how to make this happen, how to translate this into his playing, and he does this wonderfully well. Yes, I'm very touched by this story, of course, because of the lyrics, because of the cradles and the women waiting and somehow suffering, and the man always going away. It also makes me think of Albanian folk music, because this was always the story in Albanian folk music, that men go away and women stay and wait, and and they are chained by the cradles, but the men are chained by those cradles as well in a more mysterious way. So I don't know, I just think this is un bijou. This is one of the most beautiful French songs ever written, and what to say else? It's just a wonderful piece by Fauré. But that we tried to make it as modern as possible.
Le long du quai, les grands vaisseaux que là-haut l'incline en silence ne prennent pas garde au berceau que la main des femmes balance. Mais viendra le jour des adieux, car il faut que les femmes pleurent et que les hommes curieux tentent les horizons qui et ce jour-là, les grands vaisseaux fuyant le port qui diminue, sentent leur masse retenue par l'âme des lointains berceaux. Elina Duni and Rob Luft about their new ECM album, Reaching for the Moon. Thank you for joining, choosing, and listening to our ECM podcast. This episode was mixed and edited by Lucas Desmottes. I'm Caroline Fontagneux, and I look forward to sharing more music with you in the next episode.